As far as I've read so far, and I think we're happy to have you here, Andrew. Thanks for coming. And this is the kickoff night, basically, of my media tour. I go on Hannity tomorrow night. You have no idea what it's like to put in so much effort into something. It's my first solo book. I wrote a book in 2004. And it all begins. You think that writing it is the process. No, it's like this is it. And I should start off with a lot of energy, but I don't have any energy. I'm going to tell you about my last 72 hours. So I knew that I was going to launch it on tax day because I'm a cynical capitalist. So I thought the tie-in would be good. And so I planned to do the Jacksonville Tea Party because they just asked me first. So I flew in. I had to wake up at 4:30 in the morning on Thursday, and I flew through Atlanta in steerage in the middle seat, trying to sleep. And when I hit Atlanta, it was the day that the book was, well, the next day was the day that it was supposed to hit. And I was walking through the Atlanta airport, and I saw a bookstore in there, and it was floor to ceiling, the book. I was like, oh my God, they've got nice placement. I guess I have to deliver. But I was so tired, and I just took a picture of it, and I sent it to friends, and I thought, okay, that's good. My book. I'm starting my book. I've got this thing going on. And then I landed in Jacksonville. I'm still exhausted, and my business partner says, Palin's people want to know if you'll introduce her tomorrow in Madison at noon. I'm thinking, what? I have to get to New York tomorrow, but how do you say no to that? But does anyone here know anything about flying and like that there's no direct flights between Jacksonville and Madison? I didn't know that. So I had to wake up. I went to bed at 2 o'clock, woke up at 4 o'clock, take a 5:30 flight to fly to Atlanta, an hour flight. Then I flew to Memphis, all middle seat steerage, okay? And then I got to Madison, and I was walking around in fumes. I hadn't had much to eat, and certainly had something to drink in Jacksonville. So I'm like walking around. I still have a little bit of the first chapters in me. The degeneracy, I have fun. And so I finally get there, and I'm like, there's TV cameras out there. Like, what am I going to say? And I didn't know what I was going to say. But then I realized I never know what I'm going to say when I go up and talk. And so I just end up like pacing around going, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And I honestly, I never come up with anything until they say you need to speak. And so yesterday, I hadn't had anything to eat. I hadn't had any sleep for 48 hours. And I walked up there, and I immediately, this is what happens. This is why I do and say stupid things publicly. If there is energy out there, I mean, I'm a sucker. If there is energy out there and it can connect to me, I'm going to go with it. Like, I mean, if you said, let's go streak down the street, I'm like, yeah, let's go streak. Like, I mean, like, I can get caught up in the moment. So I go, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Breitbart. I don't even know how to sing or play an instrument. And you go up there, people like, yeah. I'm like, and my brain, it kicks. You have to do something or say something that warrants you being up there, you know, or else, like, what's the point? So you get caught. I'm like levitating up there. And then I start seeing that the crowd's really into it, like the Tea Party people. I mean, they really believe. Look, 2 years ago, 20 years ago, I considered myself a liberal Democrat. I'd say about 15 years ago, I was making that transition, saying I'm a libertarian. then I was like, I'm a Republican. Okay, then I'm a Republican conservative, and now I've gone straight towards the hard heroin, and I'm a Tea Party. Because they're authentic, they're real. There's more talent in a Tea Party than there is in the entire Republican Party. We'll get to that later. Someone asked me about that in the Q&A because I want you to know what I've noticed in about the 30 events that I've gone to, and they're trends that are irrefutable. Okay, so I'm up there, and I feel the connection with the Tea Party people. I mean, people are like so amped because they just kicked Richard Trumka and Barack Obama's ass in their preliminary battle to get reelected. It was good. What they did up there was extraordinary, and it demoralized them. And they had such a presence. I had gone to Wisconsin 2 months beforehand, and remember when those videos came up of the teachers getting the fake doctor's notes?
Yeah. Oh, right.
For anyone that thinks that took any skill to capture that on video, I can't believe you caught that. Every blogger right of center got that video, like, because they were saying, "Hi, do you want a free note? We're doctors," and it wasn't that hard. And people like patting me on the back, goes, "You should win a Pulitzer. That was the greatest thing." No, they really were like saying they were standing there in the crowds signing. But what I found interesting, this is what I call the Democrat media complex in the book. This is what I discovered. I think everybody here knows it. If you're in Manhattan, you know what the Democrat media complex is. It's the natural alliance of the Democratic Party and the mainstream media and Hollywood and the culture. And it's just, they are a natural organism that works against our collective interests. And they, at least from the media side, from feigning objectivity and neutrality. So anyway, I get up there. Not only am I getting the positive vibes, if anyone's ever followed me on Twitter, okay, I guess I can't believe I'm going to use the analogy of speedball. That's really a dark. As I mentioned heroin before, okay, then the cocaine is the negative energy of all these thousands of protesters yelling "Coke suckers," you know, Sarah Palin's a Coke sucker, Andrew Breitbart's a Coke sucker. They're just the most vile people. They're just animals. They really are. I mean, you're not supposed to say that, but you should, because they're animals, and you should say it to their faces. And that's what I feel about them. I really do. I hate these people. In front of these people while on speedballs, apparently. It's metaphorical speedballs. Okay, so what that other energy, and I feed off this negative energy, and I think what this book is trying to tell you is that it's time to start feeding off of this negative energy, because it's totally invigorating to take on your biggest fear, and that's a confrontation with people that you disagree with. And when you're a conservative in New York City, you're probably at cocktail parties a lot where you have to kind of bite your lip and go along to get along. And I've started to realize that I'm completely emancipated over the last 10 years. I mean, because I'm now a public figure and everybody knows at cocktail parties that I'm a Republican, conservative, Tea Party asshole. But even before that, I just started to realize how freeing it is to just go into people's faces and say, I know, here's what they would do at a cocktail party, and they're all liberals. All my wife sets me up with these terrible parties, and they'd confront me. They knew they'd have to do like 10-on-1, and at the very end they'd say something like this, like when you've tiptoed around, you know, the stuff and showed your basic humanity, that you don't eat babies, and well, actually they don't mind that.
But not animals.
Right, yeah, right. That you like animals. Right, I like dogs. Really? You're a Republican and you like animals? And one thing that they would make me do, and I think they tried to make you do, I guarantee you this is like a paradigm, because we're all experiencing the same thing in our little dark underworld of conservatism in a very blue place. And they always want you to throw somebody under the bus. Like, okay, I can handle that you're a Republican, I can, but please admit that Ann Coulter is the biggest bitch in the world. And I'm like, oh no, she's the best. She's the best. She's Captain Courageous. And she's kind of the one who inspired me the most, and I remember, and this is in the book, I'll give away a moment where in the book that I thought was like a turning point for me, because I didn't mind the confrontations at the New York City Manhattan pied-à-terre set. You know, I didn't mind the confrontations and coming away having stood up for what I believe in. But a cocktail party is different from national television with a live audience. And the first time I went on the Bill Maher show was in the year 2004. And going on this was the HBO, this is the HBO version, not the ABC/Comedy Central version. I like the Madonna song, I always did. People think I'm gay when I say that. Motivated me. So I went on the show, and my first maybe 20 times on TV, it was like an out-of-body experience. Like if I got off of the air and I asked people, did I say complete sentences, did they make any sense whatsoever, especially in satellite, where like when you're in a satellite, setting where you're talking to an inanimate object and hearing them talk to you and you don't see their face. It's just a very weird thing. But going in front of a live television audience that is literally brought there by MoveOn.org. In 2004, at the height of the Kerry thing, the entire audience was MoveOn.org people. And so I went there thinking, I knew the questions in advance, and I fashioned a routine, as it were, so that I would get out of there without being killed. And I made lighthearted jokes. I wouldn't say I sold my soul to the devil, but I let him borrow it for a while. I did not want to get eaten alive on national television when I was so nervous about my public persona and being liked and all that silly, stupid stuff. And I got off, and they were so nice to me, and Bill Maher was, hey, you were great, and I was like, yeah, I'm like with the cool team now. I've been on, like, you know. And then I went out to lunch that week with my friend Richard Hara, and he said, hey, I saw you on the Bill Maher show. He goes, you did pretty good. Why did you not stand up for what you believe in? And I was like, oh, man, that sucked. You noticed? I did too. And for, I would say, the next 2 years, I didn't do the show. And then they asked me to be on, and for 2 years I kept thinking about that over and over, because it dominated my thought process. But I also thought about fear of rejection, and it's like this balancing act of wanting to stand up for what you believe in, but not wanting to get pilloried. Well, the breakthrough in my life and my career, and I hope that people can start realizing this, because I'm not the only one who's trying to show this trick, that it's real. I went on the show, and it wasn't 3 panelists, and the 3 panelists thing really changes the dynamic, because there's somebody who can lighten it up. Like if people start going at each other, somebody will do something to alleviate the tension. There was only me and Professor Michael Eric Dyson. Do you know that guy? The professor of sociology at Georgetown, and he speaks in a iambic pentameter. The manifestation of the bifurcation of the renal, functionality of the, and I honestly, all he does is talk like to make it sound like he's the smartest person in the room.